It's October 13th, 2022. I am in I'm in the quiet section of the room. I'm looking at what the wizards at networking put together for evening news, the world news with David Muir on ABC. I watched all the other coverage best I could. I have short attention span with this stuff. I mean, but when they put it together with certain clips and phrases, I'm just like, oh. And of course, I see that key magic phrase for January 6th. It's so and so. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Kind of, sort of, but in a not really way. At the AND. And if it's a whiffle at 50-50, I don't. Air national defense. I mean, I'm watching the pathetic conversation of the people that do this professionally and have access to phone tree information, and that my future, my life, my state, my country, and my children's future rely on. And I'm watching this in a deteriorated state of health. Today, I walked the streets of the station that I'm in, and they had the gas on. It was coming out of the streets. It wasn't all day that I could tell, but again, open gas chambers or open air chambers, it's hard to tell. But of course, now I'm on the floor because there's so much pain on my left side. And as I get up, I don't always have a steady ability to walk any longer. There are days and times where I'm able to maintain balance as I walk, and then there's times where I can't. So I am theoretically thinking to myself, I don't know how much more time I have left on this earth, but I'm leaving behind 4 sons, 4 gentlemen, 4 future citizens of something. And I want to leave wherever, whenever I am, to them better than when I left it, or at least offer them some higher level of intelligence from my field experience, with some of it where I've actually been hunted and harmed. And I'm trying to piece together my own history that's been stolen or taken from me while they're functioning at some level. And so I sit here and I watch this very carefully to see, was I, like, where did I go wrong? How did I miss an exit ramp or an on ramp to be part of the family business at country, family, and God? For my heart, so I'm watching this, wanting a love story between me and someone who's been taken from me, but not knowing if that's ever going to happen. On the error side of caution, I'm just documenting my deteriorating health status, the environmental factors that I can smell or that I can recognize, what they're broadcasting as far as water vapor clouds that are not translucent at times. I've only seen it twice since I've been taping and trying to monitor some of the atmospheric conditions, that they're not saying that there's a health deterrent, but they are making a visual reference to a possibility, because I don't really see anybody doing a whole lot of explaining. So I'm watching this, and it says here, it says this cannot be just we're waiting for, and that says so and so. Air National Defense. So and. So here we are. It says Republican leaders, and then it has some of the leaders involved here to call DOD. So I'm watching them like almost as the way I watch this is like, are they documenting like a drill, like a security drill for themselves in behavioral analysis of the people that somebody's relying on to be good actors for air national defense? Somebody's job is most likely to watch this theater unfold and then score or either fix any holes in our national security or internal security or not. I would imagine. I mean, if it was a working, functioning system. So, with all of that, thinking of if I was in charge and my son's lives were on the line, it's probably how I would handle it. So, I'm watching it through that lens. And then I'm going to rewind this back to the beginning of it because it goes through, it's a truncated bit, which I prefer for bifurcated. I noticed that a lot of them are pleading the fifth, whatever that means. I've heard of it before, no idea what it actually means in motion or action. I do at live, hive, and five get the tie with five, I think. I use it as the difference between internal home and then something foreign of an intelligent nature. So this is what it looks like in action. So here it says she was taken away. Came under attack by supporters of Donald Trump. So she's complying that she's got to complete something or they won't claim this victory for whatever's going on in the background because we're not kept in the loop. I mean, so I'm watching. They're cheering USA. So she says, there's got to be a way we can sense that people have, that there's a functioning, some security or some confidence that government can function and that you can elect the president of the United States.
Hi, this is my mom.
It's real life. There's real children. There's a lot at stake. And I'm watching this. And then I watch some of the options, frightfully, that they have and some of the phone calls that they make. And I'm like, I get that this is a level that keeps people employed, that keeps some part of the corporate private world moving in slower pace than, because I mean at some point you've got to separate the people that want to kill everybody from the people that want to save everybody. And I get that there's this delicate dance between the two. I get that. What I don't get is why there's so much integration of groups of people that I don't even know if they're on any kind of like approved list. Do they function elsewhere? I mean, like, are we under threat? I mean, it feels like we're under constant threat, but are we in actuality? I would have no idea. It's not like they let the people out on the streets with the gas coming up and in some combustible form while they're siphoning money out and funding all sorts of other operations.
And that you can elect the President of the United States. Did we go back into session? We did go back into session, and now apparently everybody on the floor is putting on two gas masks to prepare for a breach. Well, I'm trying to get more information. They're putting on their tear gas masks.
Tear gas masks. And her answer is, do you believe this?
The video was shot by Speaker Pelosi's daughter.
You know who believes it? The innocent woman just going about her whatever, trying to function and not wanting to stay locked in a room 24 hours, 7 days a week, and going out and being hit by something, not knowing what it was, not knowing any of the people in the room, not knowing why anybody would want to inject me with something, not really sure what they do with my body when I am anesthetized, and not really sure what they do with the records. And then never hearing from anybody, not from Homeland Security, not from Department of Defense, not from anyone that works at the circus. Just they go about their lives, moving things, pushing people around, almost like unchecked power at so many levels. And nothing gets fixed, it feels.
Filmmaker Alexandra Pelosi, who was right there as the congressional leadership gathered at a secure location away from Capitol Hill. Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer begging the acting Secretary of Defense for help.
We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
It's a bipartisan group. Republican leaders Mitch McConnell, Steve Scalise, and John Thune there as well.
This cannot be just we're waiting for so-and-so. We need them there now, whoever you got.
Speaker Pelosi is seen talking on the phone with Vice President Pence, who had been evacuated to an underground loading dock beneath the Capitol.
We're trying to figure out how we can get this job done today. The overriding wish is to do it at the Capitol. What we are being told very directly is it's going to take days for the Capitol to be okay again.
Later, Pence on speakerphone.
Days. It's going to take a direct heir from the family tree. Is that what the day means? I don't know. I don't have anybody from Air National Defense to run that by. But if I had to take a guess or a gander,
Giving Pelosi an update. The certification of the presidential election could proceed.
And I'm at the Capitol building. I'm literally standing with the chief of police of the U.S. Capitol Police. He just informed me what you will hear through official channels. Caller than your sergeant at arms will inform you that their best information is that they believe that the House and the Senate will be able to reconvene in roughly an hour.
they'll be able to reconvene in roughly an hour. Now, this is interesting. When I was a teenager, again, I would babysit the local kids from some of the local houses. And then they would, I have to think about this. And so I was in a room in the house that we were in, that I grew up in the Glen. I was in the Glen. And Linda and Lou called something called a police I had never heard of. There were no police officers in the family. Lynn and Lou weren't police officers. Never even heard of them, never even saw them. There was some show called Cops, but it had something to do with, I mean, the theme song was Bad Boys, and it was some area of the world that did not look anything like the Glen. I had no idea what this police reference was. So they invited two police officers into the house to make an introduction. Somebody, perhaps Book of Joshua, thought it was a good idea. So these two officers come over with guns and a big police on their front. I had no idea even the pieces of what, I mean, like, it was like a meet and greet like no other. It's like superheroes come to your door and walk in. And my mom made something up. I think she said that, like, I took the car, but I had a permit. So, and she had said it was okay and then changed her mind after the fact. So it was like a little hazy, but they got them there. And it was like, nope, never heard of you, police. Don't know what you do. And I wasn't allowed to watch the TV show. That was something that was allowed to watch in somebody else's house that I used to go visit. That was like their daily routine. But I had no idea that that level of humanity was going on. I mean, again, that's the kind of thing that doesn't happen at the Glen. It happens in the outside world. Um, so that happened. So that was like my first ever introduction to two police officers. But it was like they had to be, I mean, like, it was a nice introduction. I mean, they were in their full superhero uniform, but I didn't know, I didn't even know what to say to them. I'm like, I don't know anything about what you do. I don't know. I mean, like, again, I don't even have like the words. I'm not prepared for words to even have a conversation with them. I don't want to upset them, but I don't know anything about their life or their lifestyle or what they're wearing in their uniform or their garb. I don't know what their daily vocabulary is. I knew nothing about them. So to even sit with them, it was a silent meeting. I was used to being silent and sitting in a room and pondering all sorts of things. But at that point, I was strictly on reading books and listening to the radio for new intelligent words that the Casey Kasem played on the Zoo 100 or Z100. Um, and I followed that along. I kept quiet, I kept safe, and I kept to myself not to anger or incite violence with the people that were growing up alongside of me. I didn't fight, I didn't start trouble. I went to neighbor's house to play after school. When they told me I wasn't wanted, I left. There was no arguing, there was no attitude the next day. It was like, okay, it's a bizarre world. I know it's not like others, but it's what the Glen provided and where I was. And it's how I'm used to functioning and how I'm used to being. I grew my sons the same way. There was no arguing with them. I had no beef with them. I had no fight with them. And I was a lone parent. So there was much respect from them to me.
that they believe that the House and the Senate will be able to reconvene in roughly an hour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
The central theme of the hearing? Donald Trump was responsible. He was the reason the attack happened. The committee made the case Trump always planned to declare victory on election night, whether or not he.
Right. This is where I have no comment. I have no idea between who let some foreign person break into the White House and then call himself a president, and who's actively hanging out and buying properties and making friends and friendly foreign relationships at the Five. I mean, like, I'm totally lost in this, I mean, this air traffic control problem. I mean, honestly, it's a big part of it. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. I heard disturbing news from some random stranger. Well, he's not a random stranger, but he's might as well be a stranger. I called him the valet. It's just my street name for him. He said something today, and it caught me off guard. I'm like, whoa, what? But whatever on that. Again, I'm it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. You know what else is really interesting? Why in New York do they claim that they have a New York Giants and a Jets team? Or at least that's been the ongoing rumor. Rumor has it. But yet, and Giants use the NY, but their stadium is in New Jersey. It's not in New York. But the Bills are in upstate New York. I just don't know where. They don't use the NY whatever letters, but they're technically the New York team. But yet the Giants are using the New York label. I don't really get that. I mean, like, I'm not quite sure why that is. Again, things that make you go, something ain't right. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.